Hello everybody, I'm Chester Sylvester, and today I'm speaking on behalf of Latvian Goat Studio to bring you a game from one of the best indie underdogs of the Citybuilder genre. Let me introduce you to Ostriv, a unique game that has managed to achieve a 97% rating with its users. So stay tuned and take a look at Ostriv with us and find out why. About a year ago, there was an advertising attempt on Twitch to make Ostriv, which is still in an early alpha phase. Amazingly, this comes from a one-man developed studio from the Ukraine. Ostriv gained a lot of popularity and many new fans via the platform at the time. However, something remained hidden that many of the players and viewers didn't really notice. On the one hand, Ostriv had programmed a dependency for the first time during Alpha 4.0, which caused a faulty pathfinding and warehouse loop. On the other hand, we saw a lot of influencers trying to play Ostriv as something that it isn't. On top of that, there were new innovations such as stone paths that really weren't implemented well yet. As a result, many saw a version of the game that thankfully has only become better. In other city builder games of the past 30 years, you have a direct or at least indirect role as a player. For example, the residential, commercial, and industrial zoning in games like City Skylines and SimCity that ends up leading to prosperity. Or simply an ox that performs your construction projects like in the modern indie game Manor Lords. But in these ways, Ostriv is completely different. The only real dependency in Ostriv is you, the player. Ostriv gives you the opportunity to build anything you want right from the start. There's no achievement, no guide, no goals, no wars, no unlockable buildings, and above all, no pressure. As a result, the game invites you to escape from a hectic everyday life and switch off for a while. This enables you to observe situations such as the hustle and bustle in the village or fields without the urgency of constantly making progress. Since Ostriv does not give any guidelines, it's always up to you to make it exactly what you want to see. Do you need large-scale industry and manufacturing? Maybe huge cities with inhabitants who will import goods or produce them themselves? Are you a friend of child labor, or do you prefer education for the little ones? Do you want migration and growth, or would you prefer small village communities characterized by families who have lived there for generations? Once you've decided on a cityscape, the question of financing the project is important. What form of market economy do you want to implement? Will you allow your inhabitants to prosper through hard work, or would you rather let them live in poverty in order to increase your city coffers through enormous exports? Now, you may be thinking, can't I do that in other games too? Well, in other games of this genre, you fulfill needs and dependency through buildings, certain goods, or both. This fulfills a threshold value that determines if your inhabitants are happy or not. But here, Ostriv goes much deeper. An Ostriv citizen needs exactly 3 things and access to water to be happy and not dream of fleeing your city. You can fulfill these needs, or you can substitute them. For example, do they need expensive potatoes, or would they rather feed themselves from their own garden so that they don't have to pay you? Potatoes usually do better when exported, which is good for your city treasury. You also have variable options that would go beyond the scope of this video. Just to name a few, you could work with artificial scarcity on the market and only offer a small amount. You can, of course, also offer goods on the market at absurd prices, or you can offer cheap items to export. The number of possibilities is enormous. Your citizens' happiness is calculated as a percentage, and you can max out this value to the nearest decimal point. For example, through goods, workload, missing buildings, such as medicine or religion, or a poorly supplied tavern. Of course, you can also regulate wages. As you can see, you have much more leeway here to torment or satisfy your inhabitants. Now let's take a look at Ostriv's strength. It's one thing to have many options in financial and other economic systems, but Ostriv is also a unique transportation simulator, from which other games in the genre could take a leaf out of their book, if only for the just-in-time delivery options. So let's take a look. The basic function of transportation is carried out via transport by inhabitants with their hands. Here, however, you can also differentiate between gender or which generation would be responsible for transportation. The next level would already be luxury transportation via handcarts. This option would be subdivided into genders and generations. The next stage of evolution would be the profession of carter. A building that provides this profession employs a maximum of 5 workers, and, unfortunately, only men are allowed to carry out this profession. The building itself, however, may be supplied by all genders and generations. The last stage of transportation would be the good old horse-drawn carriage. The building itself can be run by anyone, including the carter and all generations. It may sound like an evolution of transportation, but it isn't. The more efficient transportation becomes, the more exclusive and expensive it becomes. More resources are required, and they also have to be transported again. One example is that horses have to be bred. To make them fit for transportation, they need shoeing, which is produced by a blacksmith. However, this requires coal and iron, which must be produced and transported. But feed for the horse has to be produced too, and made during summer by drying grass. In addition, a saddle would be great for the rider too. And for leather goods, the production chain is 3 times as long. And anyone who thinks they only do this once would be mistaken. The horse gets older and needs access to food and water. Its saddle and shoes wear out over time, so new goods are also required. And now you begin to see the complexity. If just one of your supply chains breaks down, it can lead to food shortages that could either cause your inhabitants to move away within a few months or be decimated by illness and disease. There are various strategies and approaches here, but we don't want to spoil the game and give away all its secrets. Ostriv is an underdog because it hides its technical innovations behind an enthusiast graphic that some people may not find very appealing. In our opinion, it doesn't always have to be Unreal Engine. The technical structure in a game should speak for itself rather than over-the-top effects and graphics. If you look behind the facade of the game, you quickly realize that it's tailored to each individual player, because you as a player are always the center of your own decisions, which few city builders currently offer on that level. Furthermore, its dev support is encouraging. If you have any questions or suggestions, you can always find a contact person on Steam. Updates are frequent and bug fixes are often. It would also be great to open up the studio to the Steam modder community, as there are many who are just waiting to make props and assets for this beautiful game. Ostriv is absolutely worth a purchase recommendation, and the link can be found in the description. If you're looking to slow down and simply enjoy the buzz factor on your screen, then this is the game for you. We're sticking with it and wish Ostriv every success, so give it a try, and thanks for watching. Ciao, cacao!